Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. And I'm getting a lot of emails from a lot of people who are new to fermenting foods. And I don't want them to be afraid of their ferments because a lot of people have a lot of fear around this because they just don't understand it. They don't really understand how it works. So I want to explain that to you because it's going to really help you feel more confident in how to do this and understand a little bit of science behind it so that you won't be afraid that you're going to mess something up and make yourself sick by eating fermented foods, because there's a really lot of science behind it. It's really fun to understand because most of us don't understand how it all works. But I want to get started and tell you how all this works. So fermenting foods is very different from anything that you've probably done before. And it's not difficult. It's just new. And it's very safe. It's very easy. And it's much easier than canning foods. And it's actually safer than canning foods. And it's great for summertime when you have lots of produce. And it's the best and coolest way to preserve your summer produce. And then you don't heat up your kitchen either. And let me help you feel more confident about all culturing and fermenting their foods. And for instance, fermenting foods and culturing foods is the same thing. We're just using these terms interchangeably, but they both mean the same thing. And when you're fermenting foods or culturing foods, you actually aren't doing anything. It's the microbes that are doing all the work. And you're just giving them an environment to provide a place for them to grow and multiply. And, our planet is filled with microbes. You're filled with microbes. You're 100 trillion microbes, just you by yourself. So when you give these special microbes a good work environment with the right types of bacterias and the right types of foods, they can take care of the food and create something actually new out of it. And they keep you well every day, just without you even knowing it. So I want you to invite them into your home. Let me help you to make some cultured foods. You need a jar. You're always going to need a jar to make these in. And then you can watch what happens. You put them in the jar with the cultures and the proper ingredients, and then you walk away and let the microbes do their thing. And loving the food you create is so important because we have a contract with food in this life. And as we eat these foods and they make us well and they help us to become a better person by making our microbiome more robust, a place where good bacteria can thrive and grow and multiply, it's going to give us tons of health benefits. It's going to increase your immune system. It's going to help your digestion. It's going to help lower inflammation. They just did a study and they found that people who ate fermented foods did so much better than even people who just ate fruits and vegetables because these bacteria helped to lower 19 different inflammatory markers in the body. Foods like kefir, kombucha, cultured vegetables. It's been really amazing, a lot of the research that's coming out. And the cells of your body know what to do. They're very, very intelligent. Your body's very intelligent. You have systems and organs, and they know how to do stuff. And the only thing that's really stopping them from doing what they need to do, whether it's helping your eye to focus to see or your muscles to work or your digestion to break it down, to give you energy every day. All of these things that are happening have a form of intelligence inside of you, and microbes do too. They're living organisms. And let me put your mind at ease about a few things. And I'm going to answer a couple common questions that I get a lot. Okay, the first one is, what if I don't ferment my food correctly? Will I make my family or myself sick? Okay, first of all, when you ferment the food, the good bacteria becomes so strong and dominant that it keeps pathogens and harmful bacteria out. This applies to kefir, vegetables, kombucha, and most other cultured foods. Fermented foods have more vitamins than they contained before they were fermented. For instance, cabbage is 70 milligrams before you ferment it. When you ferment it, it becomes 700 milligrams, and that's in a cup of cabbage. And the fermentation process also adds in enzymes and probiotics that help digest the foods that you eat. So anytime you eat a cultured food, you're helping to digest the foods you eat with it. Fermented vegetables, when you make them, they are in a jar. They're submerged underwater, and acidifying bacteria such as lactobacillus dominate and control that environment, and that keeps out pathogens. There's so much good bacteria in there, the pathogens can't even get a foothold. And there's no threat of botulism in fermented foods because of the way they're prepared. Botulism only occurs in canned foods because the heat used in canning kills all the good bacteria. Only botulism can survive once you heat it, and then you cut off the air. None of that happens when you cultured foods. I have a whole article on Can Cultured Foods Hurt You? And that has a lot of information, not only on vegetables, but kombucha and kefir, and I'll put that link in the article so you can go check it out if you'd like to. Okay, another question I get a lot is how long do kefir and kombucha and cultured vegetables last in the fridge? Now, the process of fermentation preserves these foods in such a powerful way that they last a very, very, very long time. I've had them in my fridge, kefir, kombucha, and cultured vegetables for months, like 9 months, and some of them even a year, and they were still good. They were super sour, but they were still perfectly preserved and good, and I consumed them, and they were great. Now, if something looks off or has fuzzy, like mold on it or something, then throw it out. It's not good. Air's gotten into it or something's happened. One thing I do know about cultured foods, they smell horrific if they've gone bad. I've only had that happen once in 20 years. But I had a crack in the jar that wasn't very big, but just enough to let it could get some contaminants in it. It had been in the fridge for a while, and there's no way I was going to eat it. And it had fuzzy, growth on it, so I threw it out. And you'll know, green or fuzzy is bad. Throw it out. Or if it smells really awful, throw it out. Okay, so now here's another question. My kefir looks different from the last batch. Should I throw it out? No, don't throw it out. I hear this a lot. If the kefir separates into whey and curds, people freak out because it looks like there's a layer of whey and then a layer of the curds, and they think it's gone bad. But it isn't bad. It's just over-fermented. And so that means that the microbes are running out of food, so they're separating into whey and curds. And it's still good for you. You don't have to throw it out. You can make a smoothie with it. It tastes really good. Or you can strain out the whey and make cheese with it. Put a coffee filter in a fine mesh drainer over a bowl and strain the whey out and make cheese. That's delicious. You can use the whey to ferment things with. Make kefir sodas, make cultured vegetables. I have a lot of articles on what to do with extra whey. And the temperatures in your home probably got warmer, or you had too many grains for the amount of milk you're using, and it fermented too fast. And, it's still fine, but it just means you either need to remove some of the grains and add more milk or ferment for a shorter amount of time. And I have a time-lapse video that I'm going to put in the link description below to the article, and you can go look at it, see exactly what I'm talking about, but don't throw it out. It's still good for you. Okay, another question I get all the time. I seem to be getting this one more than any lately. And they said, my veggies didn't bubble, or they stopped bubbling. Is everything okay? If your veggies aren't as bubbly as they used to when you first made them, it doesn't mean they're bad. The vegetables will rise up in the jar and taste sour, and then you know they're fine. But bubbles usually only occur, and this doesn't always happen either. It depends on the culture you're using and what you're fermenting. But they usually only bubble in the first few days. Like day 3 is when I really start to notice bubbles, because it takes 6 or 7 days on the counter to make cultured vegetables. And then they kind of stop. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. It just depends on the foods that I put in there that are fermenting, the culture, all those things. One of the ways you can tell is if it gets cloudy, then you know it's working. Fermentation, I got an email yesterday about this. They kind of freak out when their vegetables get cloudy. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. You want them to get cloudy. That means that the microbes are working and they're eating the sugars out of the food and creating probiotics. So it doesn't have to bubble for it to be good because, for instance, certain foods will bubble more than others. Cabbage usually does pretty good, but I always have apples and other stuffing with my cabbage, so it gets really bubbly. Carrots don't really bubble a lot. Asparagus doesn't really, asparagus does bubble. I take that back. It does. But usually it bubbles for a couple of days. Things like garlic bubble like crazy. They're a prebiotic and a probiotic, so they go bananas in the jar if you ferment your garlic cloves, which I have a lot of good recipes for that. But then it kind of stops after a while, Jicama probably is the most bubbly of all the vegetables. It is crazy when I make jicama. Jicama is one of the biggest prebiotics that feeds bacteria. So when it ferments, it goes bananas in the jar. It's so good. I put a little orange juice in there and orange zest, and it's one of my most popular recipes. Really good. But it is super bubbly. Like it'll hiss in the refrigerator because it's bubbling so much. But that's a good sign. And it gets cloudy. Cloudy's good. Don't freak out if it's cloudy. That's good. So, people freak out because the vegetables rise up in the jar, which we've always been taught. If you see a raised lid on a can from the store, you know something's wrong because there's activity in there and there shouldn't be activity in there because most canned food is pretty dead. But in fermentation, you want the opposite. You want lots of good bacteria that rises in the jar. So let me tell you this. Okay, let me explain even more about this. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture Research, there was a microbiologist called Fred Bright, or still is, and he says properly fermented vegetables are actually safer than raw vegetables, which might have been exposed to pathogens like E. coli on the farm. With fermented problems, there's no safety concern, and I could flat out say that. The reason is that lactic acid bacteria that carries out the fermentation is the world's best killer of other bacteria, says this is the microbiologist Fred Bright. He works at a lab in North Carolina State University, and where scientists and himself have been studying fermented and pickled foods since the 1930s. He also adds that fermented vegetables for which there are no documented cases of foodborne illness are safer for novices to make than canned vegetables. Pressurized canning creates an anaerobic environment that increases the risk of deadly botulism, which I said before, and particularly with low-acid foods. So that is somebody who documents and researches it since the 1930s. So it really is much safer. You can get E. coli and things like that. You know how they're always having recalls on spinach or salad or something got E. coli. Well, when you ferment it, even if there is something on it, it kills it. So it's actually safer for you to eat a fermented food than a raw food. Not that you shouldn't eat raw foods, but it is kind of cool how that works. So if fermenting food is just so much fun, and it's really an art, and it's going to be unique to you. It's going to be different from you than it is for anybody else because you have a different temperature in your home. You have different bacteria in your kitchen that are special and unique to you. And the more you ferment, the more good bacteria you will have in your kitchen. And fermenting may work slightly different for everyone, but it still works. And you will discover the magic of your own kitchen. And everything ferments for me because I've been doing it for so long. I have a lot of good bacteria in my kitchen everywhere and on me because I eat so much of it. It's everywhere I go. You take it everywhere you go because you're a cloud of bacteria. You're 100 trillion bacteria. So wherever you go, depending on, what you eat and how you feed your microbes, you're taking that with you. And remember, you're 99% good bacteria. And it's working on its behalf for you. So it's works for everybody. Your foods will ferment better as you grow in your ability and confidence to do it. And the more you do it, you have all these unseen helpers in the micro world that ferment foods and make them safe for you. And they do the work and you get the benefits. And I have a membership. I don't talk a lot about this, but I have a BioPro membership on my website. And we have thousands of members on there. It's really, really wonderful and fun. And I really love my members. They feel like family to me. There's forums, there's courses, there's lessons, there's videos. I give a lot of attention to that. We're adding new things. We add new ebooks every month, and we're going to start adding some more things to our BioPro membership that's going to be really fun in the next month or two. And but even if you don't, I have everything free on my site. If you can't afford a membership right now, you can still find out how to ferment every single thing on my site for free. In the menu bar, there's a Start Here button. It's got a little smiley pot, and it drops down, and it tells you how to do everything. Kefir, kombucha, cultured vegetables, yogurts, breads, everything. It has FAQs, it has recipes, it has everything you need to get started. Pick one thing that you're interested in, whether it be kefir, kombucha, cultured vegetables. Pick one thing that interests you the most. Start with that and master that. Just do one at a time and see how you do. You can subscribe to my mailing list. It's free. And every week I put out a new article and blog and podcast every week to help you and to give you some more information. Because the more you understand it, the more you integrate it into your life, and the more it changes you. It's easy to do, but it's a little bit new for people, so they freak out. So all of this new, I've added some fun and easy recipes to the article. If you click on the link in the description below, I have a bunch of fun recipes that I put in there just because they're fun for me. I've been making them a lot this summer. I have cultured border salsa, which is so good. It's like it's a spicy salsa that I love that's cultured. It tastes so good. I have a cultured peach pico salsa that's really good. I also have a fermented fiesta dip. That's for my members, but it's so delicious. I have a pina colada kefir smoothie, a strawberry banana kefir smoothie, and a coffee kefir chocolate frappe drink that I love to have in the summertime. That is super good. And it's cool because you put kefir and coffee and cocoa powder all into it, and it separates into these different layers after you make it. And it's so good, especially when you need something in the morning and it's hot outside, if it's summertime. It's even good in the winter. It doesn't matter. I love it. I love the flavor. But these are just some fun recipes that I wanted to put on there to help show you how easy it is. It's really easy, guys. One of the things that I hear the most often when I teach classes, live classes, and I haven't taught them in a while, but was that, oh, this is so much easier than I thought. This is so easy. And it is. And people tend to make it hard. They make up all these crazy rules. And let me tell you something. I've been doing this 20 years. So if anybody's going to screw it up, it was going to be me. So I know what I'm doing because I've done it for so crazy long. And the health benefits are unbelievable. And so I just feel so young. And as I get older, I feel younger. It's awesome. So let me help you on your journey with fermented foods. Guys, it's so important. We all need to feel better and get healthy. And these foods are so easy. You're just basically, if you're making kefir, you're putting it in a jar with the culture and whatever milk you want. You can use non-dairy. We got like 16 non-dairy. We got regular milk, which really transforms the dairy into a different food. And you just put it in this jar with the culture and you set it on the counter for 24 hours and you got kefir. That's it. And then cultured vegetables, or just chopping up vegetables, putting them in a jar, adding salt, adding a culture. You don't have to add a culture, but I really highly recommend it just because it gives you more probiotics. And it just makes it taste better too, and it's more crunchy. Kombucha is easy. It's just tea and sugar. And then don't freak out about the sugar because the sugar's not for you. It's for the kombucha. And it's for the bacteria and yeast in the SCOBY that eat the sugars and then give you this tart, bubbly drink. I've got water kefirs. I've got the yogurts I'm making. They're phenomenal. They're so fun to make. And I've got a lot of recipes. I've got hundreds of recipes on there for everybody to try. So there's benefits for everybody. And I just want you to feel good and make some. I don't care how you do it. You can buy them if you want. They won't be as strong as the homemade, but they're still really good for you and they will help you. So do what you can. Add these to your diet. Do it slowly. Pick the one you like, the one that most interests you. Start with that. Check out my website at culturedfoodlife.com. I got everything on there for you to get started, and lots of help because we love what we do. And when you love what you do and you believe in the benefits and you live those benefits, the people who are looking for it will find you. And that's exactly what has happened to me. So have a great week. This guys, I really want you to try these different foods, even if you have to buy them. Just get going and feed those microbes in your gut because it can be life-changing. Have a good one, guys. Bye.